You know that feeling when you check your bank account and instead of immediately closing the app in panic, you actually feel calm? Like when you stop mentally calculating whether you can afford that coffee or if buying groceries means living on instant noodles for the rest of the week. There's a very specific moment when this shift happens, and it's not what most people think. Most financial gurus will tell you that you need $1 million to feel wealthy, or that six figures is the magic number. But they're missing something important. There's a much smaller milestone that completely changes your relationship with money. And once you hit it, everything feels different. And that milestone is $10,000. Welcome to the $10,000 rule that changes everything. My name is Peter, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to build wealth effortlessly while others stay stuck in the same financial loop for decades. If you want to understand how money actually works, not just hope things magically improve, hit subscribe. And if this video changes how you see money, give it a like. Now, before we break down why $10,000 matters so much, let me ask you something. When you think about building wealth, what do you picture? Maybe it's a trust fund kid who never had to worry about money. Or maybe it's someone grinding for decades, saving a few dollars at a time. The truth is, wealth building doesn't work the way most people think. Here's what actually happens. There are invisible financial thresholds, and once you cross them, the rules of the game change. $10,000 is the first real threshold. It's the line that separates people who eventually build wealth from people who spend their entire lives living paycheck to paycheck. And the wild part, most people don't even know this threshold exists. Think of it like pushing a massive boulder uphill. At the beginning, it feels brutal. You're pushing, sweating, barely moving it at all. Every step feels pointless, but once the boulder gains momentum, something strange happens. It starts moving faster, and when it finally reaches the top, it rolls forward almost on its own. $10,000 is that moment. Before it, every dollar feels like a fight. After it, money starts working with you instead of against you. And here's the surprising part. The difference isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. When you don't have savings, your brain lives in survival mode. Every decision is driven by fear and urgency. You take the first job offer, even if it's terrible. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels too risky. You say yes when you want to say no. Because you need the money. This isn't about discipline or responsibility. In survival mode, your brain literally cannot focus on growth. It's like trying to plan a vacation while your house is on fire. But when you cross the $10,000 mark, something powerful happens. Your brain finally has breathing room. Instead of asking, how do I survive until the next paycheck, you start asking, how do I grow this money? You stop reacting to emergencies and start making intentional decisions. Even research backs this up. Studies show that having just $2,000 in emergency savings significantly increases financial well-being. And when that buffer grows to a few months of expenses, which for many people starts around $10,000, the mental shift is massive. You're no longer just protecting yourself, you're building something. And this is where the math starts getting interesting. Let's say you're saving $1,000 a month and earning around 8% annually. Reaching your first $10,000 takes discipline, patience, and consistency. But your second $10,000 doesn't take nearly as long. Why? Because now your money is working alongside you. Compound interest quietly steps in and starts doing part of the heavy lifting. The work stays the same, but the results accelerate. And this is why the first $10,000 is the hardest money you'll ever make. That first milestone feels almost impossible. But here's the strange part. Every milestone after it gets easier. Now, you might think that wealthy people have access to some secret world of investing. Exclusive funds, private deals, opportunities normal people never even see. And at the extreme high end, sure, that exists. But that's not what makes the $10,000 rule so powerful. The real reason is much simpler and honestly, much more encouraging. And it's just math finally working in your favor. When you invest $1,000 and earn a 10% return, you make $100. Nice, but not exactly life-changing. Take that same 10% return and apply it to $10,000. Now you're looking at $1,000. Same investment, same time frame, same level of risk. The only difference is scale, and that scale is everything. Before $10,000, your returns feel invisible, a few $100s here and there. Easy to ignore, easy to underestimate, but once you cross that line, the numbers start to matter. If you have $10,000 invested, earning around 8% annually, that's $800 a year showing up without you trading hours for it. Money you didn't earn at your job. Money that exists because your money is finally working for you. And here's the key point most people miss. The strategy doesn't change. You're not suddenly using advanced hedge fund tactics. You're buying the same index funds in the same brokerages, following the same boring principles. It's the only thing that changed is the size of the engine. But now let's talk about the real reason $10,000 changes everything. And this might be the most important part of the entire video. When you save $10,000, you've done something far more valuable than just stacking cash. You've rewired your brain. And yeah, it might sound like self-help fluff, but stay with me because this gets very practical. Think about what it actually takes to save $10,000 from zero. Unless you're making absurd money or living rent-free with no expenses, this wasn't accidental. You had to track your spending. You had to say no repeatedly. You had to ignore impulse buys and delay gratification over and over again. And you had to do it consistently for months, maybe years. Here's the part that really matters. You prove to yourself that you control your money, not the other way around. You became someone who can delay gratification when it actually counts. That's not just a money skill, that's a life skill. And this identity shift changes everything. Before $10,000, any small purchases feel stressful. A coffee turns into a debate. A bill feels like a threat. After $10,000, you stop sweating the small stuff. Not because you don't care, but because you've already proven you can make the big sacrifices. And there's another psychological shift almost nobody talks about. You stop seeing threats and start seeing options. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, every surprise is a disaster. Car repairs, a broken laptop, rent increases. Each one can wreck your entire month. But with $10,000 in the bank, those same events become annoyance, not emergencies. Car repair, annoying but manageable. Laptop dies, unfortunate but fixable. Rent goes up, now you can negotiate, or move, or rethink your strategy. Even better, you start noticing opportunities that were always there. A friend mentions a business idea and needs early investors. Before, you'd nod and move on. Now, you can actually evaluate it. A great deal pops up. Stocks, education, a side project. Before, it was just something to admire from a distance. Now you can run the numbers. This is what people mean when they say money attracts money. It's not magic, and it's definitely not luck. It's options, and options create leverage. There's one last shift that happens around $10,000 that completely changes how you think about money. You stop obsessing over tiny expenses and start focusing on big decisions. When you're broke, every dollar feels critical. Brand name cereal or generic. Coffee or no coffee. Regular gas or premium. Those decisions drain mental energy. But once you have a real financial foundation, you realize something important. Most micro decisions don't matter. Saving a dollar here or there won't change your future. But choosing the right job, the right investment, or the right opportunity, That's where real wealth is built. And that shift from surviving to choosing is exactly what the $10,000 rule unlocks. What actually matters are the big decisions: where you live, what you drive, how much you save, and where you invest. These choices don't move your life by a few dollars, they move it by tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands over time. So instead of stressing over organic bananas or whether the coffee is worth it, you start focusing on things that actually change your net worth. Optimizing housing costs, increasing income, making sure your investment strategy makes sense. That shift is incredibly freeing. You stop sweating the small stuff and start thinking strategically about building wealth. Now let's talk about what happens to your career once you cross the $10,000 mark, because this is where things get really interesting. Having $10,000 saved doesn't just change your relationship with money, it changes your relationship with work. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. Your boss might be awful. Your coworkers might be toxic. The work might drain your soul, but you stay because you need that next paycheck to survive. That puts you in a weak negotiating position. You don't ask for a raise because you're afraid of losing your job. You don't push back because you need them more than they need you. You don't explore new opportunities because taking risks feels dangerous. Everyone can sense it. But $10,000 changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you have what I call walk-away money. You could quit tomorrow and survive long enough to find something better. That doesn't mean you should be reckless or burn bridges. It means you're no longer negotiating from desperation. You're negotiating from strength. And that psychological shift changes everything. You ask for the raise you deserve because the worst case scenario isn't catastrophic anymore. You push back on unreasonable demands because you're not terrified of the consequences. You explore better opportunities because you can afford to take calculated risks. Here's the crazy part. Most of the time, you never even need to use your walkaway money. Just having it changes how you show up. You're more confident, more assertive, more willing to take on responsibility. And people notice. You get better assignments, more respect, and yes, more money. It's like a quiet superpower you hope you never have to use, but knowing it's there changes how you operate. And the more successful you become, the faster you build wealth, which gives you even more options. A positive feedback loop. Now here's where most people mess this up. They finally hit $10,000, feel that psychological shift, and then immediately blow it. A new car, an expensive vacation, a lifestyle upgrade they earned. Don't do this. That $10,000 isn't a reward. It's the foundation of your financial future. It's the seed that compounds into real, lasting wealth, if you let it. Here's something that might surprise you. The average person spends more money on cars over their lifetime than it would take to reach financial independence. Think about that. Car payments, insurance, maintenance, gas, $600 to $800 a month for decades. Hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get from point A to point B. Meanwhile, people say they can't afford to invest. And here's the worst part. The moment you drive a new car off the lot, it loses around 20% of its value. You're not just spending money, you're destroying wealth. Compare that to investing the same amount. Instead of watching your money disappear, you watch it grow. And I get it. Cars are emotional purchases. You want something reliable, something nice, something that makes you feel successful. That's fine as long as you understand the trade-off. Because that car payment might look like success, but it's often the thing keeping people broke. This is where $10,000 completely changes your perspective. You stop asking, can I afford the monthly payment? And start asking, what is this really costing me an opportunity? That $30,000 car isn't just $30,000, it's $30,000 that could turn into $200,000 over time if invested. Suddenly, driving a reliable used car doesn't feel like sacrifice, it feels strategic. And here's the irony. The person in the flashy car is usually stressed about money. The person in the older Honda is quietly building wealth and sleeping better at night. This mindset spreads to everything: housing, education, vacations, hobbies, not in a joy killing way, but in an intentional one. You start choosing what actually matters to you instead of letting money leak away on autopilot. And here's the final truth: $10,000 won't make you rich overnight, but it will change how you think, how you decide, and how you design your life. It's the difference between surviving and building, between reacting to life and being in control of it. Start building that foundation today. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. And trust me, they'll thank you for it. If this video helped you see money differently, hit the like button and subscribe, because this channel is all about building real wealth, one smart decision at a time.